Hi! Where I stand. Well, the fact of the matter is, the picture on the back of the thumbnail and behind me right now is my doorway. And so that's where I stand, and that's where I've decided to put my thumbnails in most of the time, is where I stand. Because I feel really strongly about standing away from the maddening crowd, away from the noise, away from the distractions. Oh my gosh, there's so many distractions. So many people, so many cars, so much man-made noise, and such a lack of being able to hear the birds or the wind. Wind. How about the frog? The frog in the kitchen and the frog in the living room. The frog was in the living room again last night. I love it. Oh, Sunday, we actually had a snake in the living room. It was only about this long, but it was a snake. It was truly a snake. It wasn't a poisonous snake. The head wasn't triangular, but I still picked it up with the dustpan, because you just never know, you know. Where I stand is that if it comes in the house and it's really little, and dangerous like a scorpion, then it has to leave permanently. But if it comes in the house and it's possible to remove it, then it goes back outside. And that's what it did. I put him back outside, because that's where he belongs. He certainly doesn't belong in the living room. But where I stand is in that doorway, looking every day out at the mountains and the sky. And I think to myself about how fragile. I mean, we look at the mountains and we think, oh, they're really strong and powerful. And yeah, well, why is it that a bulldozer can go there and in no time it's gone? I mean, the roads up there have been bulldozed, not very far. I mean, they're just about a car and a half, and somehow or another we always manage to make it around. And they're dirt. They're just dirt. And so, of course, when it's raining, they're really muddy, which reminds us of how fragile they are. And when it's raining, we have landslides, which reminds us how fragile the earth is, especially when we screw around with it. You know, with digging a road is screwing around with it. That's why the original roads always followed the walkings of the cattle, because the cattle tended to walk in a way that would be less likely to cause landslides and that sort of thing, because they were not being concerned about a vehicle. They were just walking based on their own balancing. It made sense. Of course, over the years, it hasn't been as easy to understand, but it certainly makes a lot more sense as far as the earth is concerned, because if we have terracing, or if we have curved terracing, it's so much easier on the earth, because the earth is fragile. It really is. And recovery. Recovery is something I work with a lot. Because I had a dysfunctional childhood, I had to learn how to recover for myself. I went to a lot of therapists, but that didn't seem to quite be what I needed to understand, especially at this age. Golly. You know, when you're sitting there and you're 20, 22, or and you've already got the weight of the world on your shoulder. By the time I was 20, I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. Actually, almost a 2-year-old. Yeah, she was almost 2. And so it's pretty tough to sit there with a 30-year-old counselor and feel like you're really getting the information you need and being willing to accept it. Now, I tended to honor and respect older people more because, in fact, I didn't have much interaction with older people other than my own parents, and I didn't respect them too much. My mother, I didn't respect my mother, but my father I did. But my father was gone so much, I felt like he didn't really know me, and of course, if he didn't know me, a therapist didn't know me, so I began to work on my own recovery, and I found that working with fragile, like the earth, fragile things, insects, butterflies, flowers, leaves, things that were fragile, and it became where the only things I wanted in my bedroom was something sturdy. I wanted a sturdy bed. I wanted a sturdy chest of drawers, because I'm so connected with fragile, and I felt fragile. I was always frightened. I never felt S-A-F-E. That was a 4-letter word I was always looking for. S-A-F-E. I always wanted to feel safe, and I suppose the earth wants to feel safe, or would think, as fragile as it is. I suspect it would like to feel safe. And a lot of people who are in recovery can be, you can recover from a lot of things. You can recover from a stroke. You can recover from a car accident. You can recover from polio or dysentery. And you can also recover from self-imposed. We say that. Drugs, illegal drugs, or excessive amounts of legal drugs, alcohol, gambling, overeating, smoking. We always think of those as self-imposed, but the pain wasn't self-imposed. The pain of having a stillborn child, the pain of having a tornado take your house away, the pain of losing your brother or your mother, your father, your husband, can drive you to want to get rid of the pain with overeating, gambling, drinking, illegal drugs. So our emotions are fragile. Human dignity is extremely fragile. One nasty word, bitch, kike, Polak. Boy, you can hurt people a lot with one nasty word. You really can. So human dignity is fragile. Hope is fragile. Oof. We keep hoping and hoping and hoping that somebody, they will make things better. They, quotes, they will take care of it. Yeah, but one of the things that's very, very fragile is trust. I had a professor who said, trust, very easy to earn. No, very easy to lose, very hard to earn. That's what he said. Very easy to earn, very easy to lose. He was a captain of a aircraft carrier before he became a professor. And I just adored him. God, he was good. He was so good. He was a business class. And it was mostly about the psychology of business, the things that, not marketing, but the psychology of business, how you go into business, how you put yourself together, what kind of position you put yourself in, how you write a business plan, how you decide what to go into business with, do, sell, promote, whatever it is. He was great. He was great. But he always talked about trust. Trust is so fragile. And when you don't trust your parents, I never trusted my dad to come home safe. every time he left, I wondered if he'd ever come back. And it wasn't until after my mother died that I found out from him, because he confessed to me that he took every single assignment he ever could that took him away from home. And I thought that, but I couldn't believe it. I found it so hard to believe. And it was true. Every assignment he could to get away from home. See? When he said that, then I knew. I knew for sure. It wasn't just me who couldn't stand to be around my mother. Couldn't stand her detachment from being a part of life, her lack of empathy, her lack of kindness, her lack of nurturing, her lack of love. I don't think she loved herself. I think she blamed herself. She should have known my father better. She only knew him for 28 days before she married him. She jumped at the chance to marry him. She was tall, really tall. She was a big woman. She wasn't fat. She was just big, tall. And she'd had only one boyfriend before she met my dad. She was 21. 28 days, they married each other. She was Lutheran, had a brother who was a Lutheran minister, and an uncle who was a Lutheran minister. And my dad was Catholic. He was Polish. His first language was Polish. So he was a real dyed-in-the-wool Roman Catholic. And her fear, and the only thing as far as I know that she asked him, was, don't raise the kids Catholic, because if it's a choice between me living or a child living in childbirth, Catholics always take the child because the mother's already saved. Well, I won't be saved because I'll be a Lutheran. And he agreed, which surprised me. But after waiting 6 years before I was born, and then another 1.5 years before the boy was born, and having him live only 4 days because the blood wasn't compatible. Back then, they didn't have to test the blood. Had they done that, after only 28 days of knowing each other, they wouldn't have married. I wouldn't be here. And it probably would have been a whole lot better because they argued. Gosh, they argued. She was so angry. She was such an angry person. And of course, he came back from the Korean War with PTSD, so he was angry. And so when you're sitting here looking at Earth as fragile, and human dignity as fragile, and trust as fragile, and hope. We all hope. I mean, they married because they hoped it would work. Moved to a farm because they hoped it would work. Everybody hopes climate change will go away because they will fix it. But that's pretty unlikely. We have to adapt, and we're fragile. So we have to find a way to adapt. And we need to recognize that the things we've taken care of in our life that are fragile, we've kept them from breaking usually. If not, well, maybe I'm not talking to the right people. Because for me, I used to have butterfly exhibits and beetle exhibits, and you had to be careful with them. But I never had a brother or sister to learn how to be careful with. So I had to learn from others. And that's what I learned. I learned that people respect people who recognize the fragileness of divinity. I think people are divine. I think animals are divine. I think insects are divine. I think my doorway, where I stand, is a divine place. I look out that door and all I feel is love. I just feel so much love. It's like looking in the eyes of a child, or a dog, or a frog. I know you think I'm a little nuts, but it's true. The frog is fragile. The frog didn't want to die. And he didn't die. He's come in my house several times. He's gotten in my tub and outside. And I've found him several times in the house and moved him. Just like the snake. Just moved him out. Hopefully to a place where they can get the water and the food they need. We're all fragile. We don't last over 2 minutes without air. Unless we've trained ourselves. 2 minutes is about it without air. We're fragile. And one nasty word. Somebody says, you're just a stinking Pollock. And they tell a horrible Pollock joke. Oh, boy, that's going to hurt. It really is. It's going to hurt. Or you're a cheap Scottish person. Cheap Scotswoman. Cheap. Which isn't true at all. I'm meant to be very generous, and so does my Scottish husband. It's myths. They're myths. A lot of those things are myths. You know, I heard the joke so many times as a child that I was going to cross the train track and I hit the 53rd car. I mean, why? Why would people encourage each other to say that to each other? But then again, every culture has some insult. Every dream, every hope has been shattered by somebody else. Dignity shattered. Hope shattered. Dreams shattered. Trust shattered. And that's why when we find someone that we really feel S-A-F-E, safe with, it's a treasure. It really is a treasure. And we need to treat the person like a treasure. Because if we don't, they'll probably abandon us at some point. Even though we trusted them, they'll probably abandon us because people who act with dignity, honesty, who can be trusted, should be respected. If they're not, then probably there's something going on with the other person. People in recovery, regardless of what it happens to be, oftentimes feel like they've made so many mistakes in the past. But even people who've recovered from being inordinately overweight, although they may just be absolutely in love with their new bodies. I even knew a woman who had so much flesh hanging down, she had all of that cut off and it's sewed back together. And she felt much better about her arms. But I wonder, did she ever feel like, gosh, I wouldn't have had to do any of that if I'd just been a little more mindful of what I ate? It's hard to say, you know. But I do know that when we do just a little bit for the earth, it makes a difference. Everything makes a difference. Give a person a little bit of dignity. You just see somebody who's a homeless person and you say something nice to them about, boy, you're sure taking good care of your dog. Or, that's a healthy looking dog. Or, looks like your dog could see a vet. Would you like me to take you? Each of those things makes a difference. You don't have to spend any money if you don't want to. But if you do see the animal and you do think it needs it and you do it, wow. Wow, that's human dignity. And dignity for the animal too, of course, but the immediate dignity is in the person who recognizes what you've done. And trust. If you say to somebody, like I did today, I said, there's a jar out there with money in it and a note. If the taxi driver comes back and you don't see me, just tell him to take what he needs for the trips he made. I was hanging the clothes on the line when he came, and I missed him. And I was just a few feet away, but he couldn't see me. I was hanging up the clothes. So funny that would happen. But that kind of thing does. But did he not trust me? No, that wasn't the case. In fact, he went to 2 places, and both places said, oh, just tell her to stop by on Thursday and pay me. That's one of the blessings of a small town. You get to know each other. You get to trust each other, at least with some things. And it's good. It helps you to feel safe. And one of the things that is really a good idea in life is to feel safe. Find ways to feel safe. Find ways to take away whatever different things are going on in your head that seem to bother you so much and make you feel uncomfortable. Find a way to remove them. I mean, I've got bars on the windows. They were here. It's a rental house. It's the way they come. But it's common here because people are poor. And rental homes are more subject to being invaded. And I didn't have to have them, but it was nice. And that can be there too. It doesn't have to be a have to. But sometimes it only takes a little bit to make you feel more safe. I leave the doors open all day, every day, all day. That's how the snake and the frog got in. And sometimes we have moths that come in. But I know the earth is fragile, and I love the earth so much. And I don't want to leave it out. I want to leave it as a part of my life every day. I want the air to blow through the house. I'm always looking for things to remind me to take care of the earth. And now I'm going to say to you, if you have any questions about where I stand every day in front of that door, looking out at this, which is what I'm going to use on all my, I think, most of my, not maybe all, but most of my videos will have this background, this natural background, or one area that goes all the way around. But the point is, the natural background will be there. When you look for it, you'll know you can find me. You can also leave a message down below. I'll answer it. And while you're down there, check out our nonprofit. There's a link to the nonprofit. We've had 34 years of helping folks out to feel safe. And 2 of us are artists over 75, and we have artwork that reminds people to take care of the earth. Might want to look at that too. I want to thank you for being here. I hope I see you again.